Okay. I'll wait 15 seconds roughly. Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the open meeting, the April open meeting of the Guelph Police Services Board. I'll call the meeting to order and our territorial acknowledgement. Today, we acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation of the Anishinaabe peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting. Okay, item number 3 is are there declarations of a conflict or pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Not seeing any. Item 4, closed session resolutions, if any. Christine? Oh, you're muted.
That would be Peter.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry, Peter.
Yes, I would like to move that we fund from our community account $1,500 for the Easter Seals for the dances with the, is it Dancing with the Stars event?
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I will vote in favor as well. And that motion is carried. Thank you. Closed session. Oh, sorry, we just did that. Presentations. This leads us to item number 5, presentations, delegations. Body-worn cameras. The body-worn camera project is the subject of this presentation. We have Jonathan Green, Manager, Information System and Services, and Alana Saunier, who's the PhD Assistant Professor, Sociology Department, Surveillance Studies Center, Deputy Director, Queen's University. So, folks, the floor is yours, and you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to the members of the board, and perhaps just a quick refresher for members of the board and for the people, the live stream. My name is Jonathan Green. I'm the manager of Information System Services with the Guelph Police Service, and my involvement with our body-worn camera committee is what brings me in front of you today. The body-worn camera committee started to investigate the use of this technology for the Guelph Police Service back in late 2019 with just myself and then Patrol Sergeant Dustin Howe. Members from our service had heard some great things about the technology from local, national, and perhaps even more so some of the larger international policing partners who had seen some significant returns on their investment through transparency, accountability, and best evidence collection. This led us down the road of trying to put together a plan to look at body-worn cameras, and we quickly identified several barriers or challenges that we would need to overcome, and some questions that needed answering. Some of the easy ones, like how do we attach a body-worn camera to an officer? Some average ones, like how do we store, redact, and disclose thousands and thousands of hours of video? And we had some really hard ones, like what type of policies or procedures do we need to implement in order to govern the use of the cameras? But perhaps the most important question was, due to the cost associated with implementing the cameras, was did our community want our officers to be wearing them? Was this something that we even needed? We realized we didn't really know how to go about answering that question. So luckily for us, I had run into Dr. Saunier at an industry technology conference, and I was aware that she'd been helping Durham Regional Police with their body-worn implementation, and that her study with that agency was coming to a close. After a few emails were exchanged, and she agreed to continue her research with the Guelph Police Service, where she'd left off with Durham. In order to help facilitate the study, Dustin and I, as part of our initial group, added Jess Abra from our own research department to assist with the data collection, Joanne Bunneman from my IT team to assist with the data collection from our niche RMS and among other sources. And then finally, we added, retired Inspector Scott Green, and upon his departure from the service, Inspector Scott Grover to our group for operational oversight. After about 8 months or so of planning, the Guelph Police Service entered into a year-long study and pilot project that would run between September 2020 and August 2021. The study included both internal and external perceptions of body-worn cameras, written and telephone surveys, and studies involving groups of victims of various crimes. We didn't shy away from asking the hard questions of our community, from our community, with the goal of an open and frank discussion as needed to build the requirements for this technology. The results of the study have been compiled and have been shared with you as part of this week's agenda, as part of the board minutes and disclosures. As the members of the board are already aware, I don't think the general feeling of the results are any secret of the study. The results of the study are any secret. As this very moment, every member of the Guelph Police Service has access to a body-worn camera. Uniformed members are required to wear them while performing their duties on a daily basis, and I like to add, they are very happy to do so. At this time, I'd like to take some moments to thank some of the people for their effort and their hard work that went into this project. Jess Abra, Joanne Bunneman, and Dan Innes, who is one of our partners from the Pride Consortium, for all of their assistance with the data collection and providing that information to Alana and her team for study. To our inspectors, the Inspector Scotts, the two of them, for their oversight and direction when it came to operational leadership. Jay Bethija, who for the majority of the pilot single-handedly managed, redacted, disclosed all of the captured footage for the body-worn camera pilot project to our prosecution partners. To Sergeant Dustin Howe for putting his hand up to lead this initiative for our members yesterday, today, and tomorrow, as he continues to live and breathe this project every single day. And finally, to Alana, who helped guide us through this partnership and journey. If you reflect back, just as I began speaking, some of the timelines I've spoken about from when we started this project, and during that time, the world changed. And Alana's skill set were in incredible demand during that time. And myself and the rest of the project team are so grateful that she chose us. Whenever we were stuck, she helped get us unglued, whether through direct advice or through pointing us into policing partners across the country who could answer some of our tough questions for us. Your efforts have been and will continue to be profound on policing in the city of Guelph for a very long time to come. And I can't thank you enough, and thank you very much for being the change that we needed. So I'll turn things over to Alana and get her comments before going back to the chief if he would like to add any himself.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I simply want to say that it was my pleasure to have the opportunity to work with Guelph. I relish the opportunity to work with practitioners to continue to advance policing in service to communities. And that was something that I was able to do with Guelph because of the fact that the service was so open to exploring all sorts of different opportunities of how best to conduct this research. So the administration in general, the board in general, being very open to my partnership in this project. And then, of course, the persons that we actually worked with, all of whom Jonathan named, except for himself, who was also an incredible asset to the completion of this project. Again, I'm just very grateful that I was able to be a part of it, and thank you to the Guelph Police Service for that opportunity.
And is it my turn now, Jonathan?
Absolutely. Always give the last word to the most important person.
Well, no, that's certainly not me. But I think that it's Alana, your report is I believe 174 pages, thereabouts. And I really think it serves to demonstrate, like we now find ourselves in 2022. We first started talking about this very seriously in 2019, the fall of 2019. And so if you consider not only the implementation of the technology, but the cost associated with it, it was very important to have data-driven decisions. And your research which is extremely comprehensive. It really gave us the data we needed and the board needed to kind of make the decisions required, as well as the investment required. So I really can't say thank you any better than Jonathan just did, but we really are grateful. And I invite, I'm sure our board members are already familiar with the research, but whether it be the community watching right now or our media partners, they're truly like the better part of 200 pages of research that you've built for us really will be transformational as we move forward like this for our service. So just a very, very sincere thank you from all of us.
Thank you so much. And I believe, I don't know when this is supposed to come up, but I believe this should be acknowledged. I received this very lovely recognition of my contribution to the Guelph Police Service that I am so appreciative of, and I look forward to putting in my office at Queen's. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and we've come a long way with respect to virtual presentations. So you get it in the mail, and then you get presented it. So you get presented it twice, kind of.
Yeah. Atlanta, on behalf of the board, I'd like to express our great appreciation for all the work you have done as well. Christine? Yeah, that's what you were, okay.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just had a real quick question through you, Mr. Chair, to the chief. Yes, we saw the data and there were the surveys and the pilot project and the reports, but I was just wondering, then there's also real life full implementation. So I was just wondering how our officers are finding the rollout in the implementation of the body worn cameras overall, like any issues, problems, other benefits that you've come across other than those that were already identified in the report.
Well, I think in general, and I'll come to Jonathan when I'm done here in a second, but I think overall, again, a testament to Jonathan and Dustin and everybody else internally. We now find ourselves in April. The rollout has been completed between January and now. So now the rollout is completed within our service for our members to have the technology actually deployed. I think all the data indicates, from my perspective, it's been very well received. Obviously, Jonathan, I'm sure there's a learning aspect, a learning curve that comes with it. But in general, would you concur with respect to the reception?
Absolutely. This was something that from the study results that we saw that the community wanted, but our officers were, when both from the formal surveys and the informal conversations in the hallways, this is something that our officers were very much in favor of. They were very supportive of. We had I've never seen so many people try to sign up for the early training days in order to get their piece of equipment quicker. And we look forward to, when the time is appropriate, potentially sharing some of those videos with board members. Once it's early in its infancy, some of those cases where we are still before the courts, but as those cases make their way through the courts, the impact that the body worn cameras have had, and as far as best evidence collection, transparency, and what it's like for an officer on daily patrol. So it's been nothing but positive from the members that I've spoken to, and I think the hallway conversations speak to that the most. That's where officers will truly be honest with you in terms of their opinions, and it's been nothing but tremendously well received as to how the implementation has gone and where we are today.
So we haven't had any complaints from our members yet?
None.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks,
no problem.
Chief.
Excellent. Yeah. Are there any questions? Any further questions for Jonathan or Alana or the chief? No? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you very much for spending the time with us, for all that you've done in making this, it sounds like an overwhelming success. And we'll look forward to moving on and have full implementation, which I guess was a question in my mind. Do we have full implementation at this point? Yeah. So everybody's, yeah. Okay, good. Well, once again, thanks again, Jonathan and Alana. And we're looking forward to a lot of success with the body-worn cameras. Without you, it would have been extremely difficult without all the work that you've done to make it a successful project. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. And I'll leave you now, but please know that I'm always very happy to answer any questions that I can for the Guelph Police Service. So I look forward to seeing you all around sometimes. Okay.
Thanks. We appreciate that.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Elena.
Okay.
Bob, you're muted.
Oh, wow. All my talking was for nothing. Sorry. Okay. Can anybody read lips? Then that might work. Approval of the minutes of the open meeting of March 17th. Peter?
I'll move
by
that.
Peter, seconded by Christine. And I'm in favor, so that's carried. Thank you. And approval of the agenda. Peter?
I would like
Sorry,
to
consent agenda, part 1.
Okay, I was going to make an amendment to the agenda. Oh, okay. We can move the consent. Maybe I'll make the addition to the discussion agenda.
Yeah, that'll be under new business, Peter.
New
Okay,
business.
so I'll move it. I'll move
Okay,
the consent
and
agenda.
seconded by Christine. I'm in favor, so that motion is carried. We move now to the discussion agenda, and whoops. Item 7.10 is Human Resources Strategies Annual Report. And I see Kelly has just popped up on my screen. So welcome, Kelly. And Chief, are you going to kick this off, or is Kelly going to just jump right in?
Well, I'm very happy to welcome Kelly, who leads our human resources, occupational health and safety, and wellness teams. So I'll let you run through the report, and then if the board has any questions, both Kelly and I are available.
Good.
Thanks, Chief. Good afternoon. I am pleased to present to the board the Human Resources Annual Report for 2021. I will start with highlighting that in 2021, we celebrated 46 civilian and police members who reached service milestones of either 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30 years of service with Guelph Police, as well as 17 members or teams that received internal awards of recognition and 2 who were recognized externally. In addition, 17 GPS police members were recognized with their Police Exemplary Service Medal or BAR for either 20 or 30 years of service in an exemplary manner by the Governor General of Canada in 2021. 2021 continued to bring challenges to all employers with the COVID-19 pandemic, but despite these ongoing challenges, the human resources, wellness, and professional development and recruiting functions continued. In the calendar year 2021, we had 110 employees who were absent from work for COVID-related isolation requirements for a total of over 4,000 hours of isolation requirements in 2021. Despite the ongoing COVID challenges with outreach initiatives to attract qualified and diverse applicants, Guelph Police received 483 police recruit applications in 2021, which is a 214% increase from the 154 received pre-pandemic in 2019. We also received 21 applications in 2021 from experienced police constables interested in a lateral transfer to Guelph Police. In 2021, we onboarded 11 police recruits who attended the Ontario Police College for their initial period of training before returning to be sworn in as police constables, and we also onboarded 6 experienced police constables. As a result of the new applicant tracking system, we are now able to track statistics regarding applications received for civilian positions at Guelph Police Service as well. In 2021, we had a total of 841 applications for 9 different external postings during the year, submitted for a variety of civilian positions, including police communicator, dispatcher, and custodians as examples. In total, for civilian postings, there were over 4,000 views on our website. The first full year of having a dedicated civilian media coordinator has helped to promote employment at Guelph Police directly through recruiting posts and also through programs such as Behind the Badge by highlighting the work done by our officers and civilians, and through GPS participation in cultural and community events. The service has seen an increase of over 2,500 followers in 2021 to our official social media accounts. GPS Twitter, for example, has over 28,000 followers currently, with 4.5 million tweet views in 2021. While we continue to see many in-person training opportunities canceled in 2021 due to the pandemic, internal transfer opportunities and virtual courses, conferences, and workshops continued, as you will read in the report, to allow for us to continue to focus on member skill development. Some of the career and professional development highlights in 2021 include that we promoted 17 police members to the ranks of sergeant, staff sergeant, and inspector from the promotional banks. Leadership training in the year included creating a psychologically healthy and safe workplace training, running a frontline supervisor course, and completion of the Rotman's Police Leadership Program by 5 senior leaders. In 2021, there was an increase in police, civilian, in-house training opportunities and approved tuition reimbursement courses compared to the previous year. Equity, diversity, and inclusion continue to be a common themes in much of the work that PDRU and HR have been involved in 2021. Diversity training initiatives have continued and have been expanded in 2021 for all members. New recruit cultural appreciation training has expanded from 1.5 hours to a half day of training in 2021. Our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, which includes 26 members from across the organization, continued their important work in 2021 that fosters workplace belonging and inclusiveness. There was GPS representation on the OACP EDI committee in 2021, and a number of GPS members participated in a Building a Culture of Belonging symposium. Guelph Police continues to be committed to member safeguard programs to provide resources, supports, continued education, and wellness initiatives to support member health and well-being. 2021 was the first full year of having a dedicated wellness coordinator to focus full-time on wellness support training programs and initiatives. In part attributed to the negotiated broadening of the eligible service providers for our members to select from for psychological supports under a group benefit plan, mental health support benefits use increased by 61% in 2021 compared to 2020. While COVID-19 impacted our ability to run in-person group initiatives, some of the remote initiatives that were offered during the year include participation in an early intervention program for first responders, sleep for shift work education series, and secondary traumatic stress, vicarious trauma, and resiliency training for our communicators. Another highlight in regards to member wellness is the rollout of a new organizational member wellness and overtime reduction strategy from a wellness perspective to provide guidelines for supervisors to follow in an effort to ensure adequate officers are scheduled to work each shift and to ensure that breaks and lunch periods are taken, which of course is important to wellness. Also, provisions are included with this guideline to minimize requirements to attend court and meetings on off days where possible to allow for appropriate breaks from work for our members as well. In 2022, the service looks forward to expanding programming in the area of illness and injury prevention with the addition of a new health and safety advisor. Increased retirements have continued at Guelph Police with 12 police and civilian retirements in 2021. It is expected that over the next 5-year period, we could see 16 civilian and 24 police retirements, which the senior leadership team continues to strategize to manage these anticipated gaps. More details can be found in the report, including participation rates and year-over-year changes, in the appendix. Do you have any questions?
Are there questions for Kelly? Christine?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Okay. Kelly, this was on the last page of the report before the appendix, and it talks about strategizing the various options. And there's a whole list there. And one of them was the enhancement to the disability management services. But when you were talking, it sounded like maybe you identified some of those that go under the disability management services. And if not, and you haven't already identified them, could you give me an example of what another enhancement would be?
So, of course, we work closely with our track group to enhance our disability management. We continue to educate ourselves. We work with our partners at the various services across the province. A new working group has just been developed specifically for police services. Disability management individuals who work for police services. We're working closely with WSIB, with the insurer. Our team has expanded. So in the past, wellness did not fall under the HR umbrella, but starting in 2022, occupational health, safety, wellness will be working together with HR. So, more on the preventative side, we hope to be able to focus on.
Okay, thanks for that, Kelly.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Peter?
Yes, Kelly, and through you, Mr. Chair. You've noticed that there's a lot of people who are eligible to retire, and I understand that we're not the only service in the area who has that issue. We've gone through that recently in discussions about executive compensation. What plans are there to make sure that we have adequate succession planning to maintain the service in light of that significant potential exodus?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Definitely, we're seeing that with other services, and again, that was just discussed today with the OACP group in terms of starting a working group to look at recruitment and retention. So I have actually asked to be part of that working group as well. Definitely through our member development, training, promotional processes to make sure that we have our future leaders ready to jump into those roles that may be vacated. And I think the chief perhaps has something to add as well.
Sure, I'm just taking my hand down there. And I just wanted to follow up and kind of highlight one, what Kelly just said, but also the extraordinary work that Kelly and her team has done. Like if you go to Appendix A, page 235 of 240 of your package, one of the consistent themes in the last several years has been recruitment and declining applications. And actually, if you look at our trends, in 2016, we had 384 applicants, and last year we had 483. So we've actually been seeing a positive trend with respect to applications, both for new cadets and experienced officers. So I think that it's kind of, we can all recall the budget discussions of 2019 when we talked about investment and realizing the benefits of those investments, whether it be on wellness, whether that be professionalizing our media and corporate comm strategy and engagement with our community. As we've done that, we're really starting to see the data that kind of demonstrates that. So to be in the environment we've been in the last 2 years, and to Kelly's point, pre-pandemic, in 2019, we had 154 applicants, and last year we had 483. So kind of a demonstration to the work being done.
Christine?
So on that Appendix A, because I remember that low count in 2019 for applications, I was going to ask you, there's quality and quantity, and the quantity has gone up, but then there's the quality of the application. And I was just wondering, have we received both, meaning the quality as well of the applicants?
Well, and I would say, so it's a very thorough process. And Deputy Gates reviews all the applicants. So I guess the best way to answer that would be, we've received enough qualified applicants to fulfill the spaces available. That's probably the best way for me to answer that question. Daryl, would you concur?
I concur, and if we need to wait a little while to to replace somebody because the applicant quality wasn't there, we wait. So we just don't fill a spot because it's open. We get the best applicants, and we've expanded that out with the experienced hires. It's a great mix. It's a little bit of a change here, where we've got some officers coming in from different services and they have different ways of doing things, and that's enlightening us a little bit.
Okay, thanks, Chiefs.
Right, and I'll also highlight, again, we've talked about this quite a bit, but where Kelly alluded to, in addition to preparing for the future and having new members and applications, we have a very important focus on leadership development, on skills development, on developing our mid, senior and executive leaders so that we're building the legacy for the service. And we do that by hiring great people, training great people, and building great leaders for the future. So that's all, there's a holistic approach to all of that.
Are there any other questions? Comments? Questions for Kelly, the chief? Not seeing any. Thanks, Kelly, for your report. Very comprehensive. And we'll look forward to better times in terms of 2019 and 2020. And I think the data is now showing that our applications are moving up again, plus all the work you're doing in other areas. So we really do appreciate it on behalf of the board.
Thank you very much. I will certainly pass that along to the team.
And I made sure before I started talking that I was unmuted. How embarrassing is that? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have, there we go. Next up is Chief's monthly report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my monthly report this month it's kind of in line with what we've just finished talking about as far as our people and the work that our people do. I'm not sure if the board is aware, but April 10th, the week of April 10th was National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And I think that often when our community thinks of our police service, they often think of the sworn police officers that they see every day, which is natural. But I think it's important that the community always remember that our service is both the sworn and civilian members that provide the service that we give to our community every day. So just for the board's awareness and for the community, our dispatch operators, our communications team, last year answered more than 73,000 calls for service. They are quite literally the first people that a member of the community speaks with when they contact our service. This often includes very difficult, stressful, and emergency situations. Our unit now includes 29 active civilian members, including 4 supervisors and a trainer, and we have a staff sergeant who leads the team. All of our communicators are cross-trained so that they can both answer calls from the public via 911, the non-emergency line, or internally from our members. Literally almost every single call that comes into our service is answered by our communications team. Like we don't have they answer all the incoming calls. In addition to that, our dispatchers are also the ones who they dispatch our officers to calls. They respond to radio communications directly from our officers. They monitor our officers while they're on calls. So that's an incredibly important function. Our communications unit is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They prioritize all the calls for service while maintaining both the safety of our officers and the public we serve. I've often said that our members literally help our citizens navigate some of life's most difficult moments. And our communicators are some of our many civilian employees who literally they're the unsung heroes that are integral into keeping our community safe. If you saw a recent edition of our Behind the Badge, one of our communicators was profiled there, Miss Jane Bevan Stewart. And I think in the quote in that article, I'm quoting her, she kind of summarized it really well. She said, being a communicator is, quote, it's a difficult job, but it's very interesting. What I hope for people is that they're never in a position where they need to call 911, but if they do, they're going to be well looked after. And that's kind of the sentiment that our communicators do their jobs with every day. And when you think about serving our community and the work that our folks do every day, Daryl and I have you've heard us say it many times, that we may be the faces that you and our community see at these meetings every month, but it truly is the hard work of our sworn and civilian members that must be recognized. Our members literally run towards potentially dangerous situations to ensure the safety of our community. And I thought from my monthly report this month, I thought it was really important that we thank and recognize them for the difficult work that they do each day. And barring any other questions, I know we've talked about a number of other things. That's the extent of my update, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I just had a quick one, Chief. Aren't all the communicators not only looking after the police-related calls, but also fire and EMS?
Yeah, so we are a PSAP, so we intake all of our 911 calls, and then calls that need to be downstreamed to other services are downstreamed accordingly. And then we dispatch for our officers and manage police calls as well. Daryl, did I capture the essence there? Do you have anything else to add?
You've captured the essence.
Okay, so I guess you could summarize it in saying the first point of contact in 911 are the folks that are related to the police service or are and in those facilities, and then they download from there as necessary.
Yes,
So
we are
the first point of contact. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, we intake all the 911 calls.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions for the chief? Not seeing any. Okay. And does that conclude your report, Chief? Or did you have other? Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. So the next item is new business. And Peter, I believe you have some new business to bring up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am requesting a leave of absence following today's meeting until June 3rd. I am a candidate in the provincial election and will not be able to give the care and attention to this board that it deserves and for the duration of the campaign that's next month. So I would ask to be granted a leave of absence.
And that's moved by Christine.
No, I just had a question for you.
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
okay. Sorry.
It's a process question. So I didn't know the process, meaning the board actually has to pass a motion for this leave of absence, like technically? Is it again, it's a process technical question, like, do we have to?
Okay, well, I'll throw in my opinion on this, and we've never had this situation before. But if we look at the bylaw on this, I think it talks about a member who is absent or not available to attend meetings, but it's fairly lengthy, and I thought it was 5 or 6. So I don't see possibly any reason, to your point, Christine, that we need to pass a motion.
Right, and what I was thinking, if down the road need be, then the board could deal with the issue. But for right now, I'm really thankful that Peter gave us the notice.
Yeah.
Because there's a big part of me that would say, request denied. I don't want Peter to go, but I understand. But if we don't have to do a motion, then I think that's the best way to deal with it, unless we absolutely need to.
Right. Okay. So we can move on now, I think, unless there are any other questions, Christine, that you have. The information items are 8.0, section 8.0. I'm not going to go through them all. They're easily readable. And they basically involve meetings related to boards and in relation to police work and so on. And so that brings us to the conclusion of our open meeting. So, Christine, is that a motion to adjourn, or do you have another question?
That's a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and seconder, Peter, can I assume that? Yes, thank you. Okay, and that's carried. Thanks, folks. Appreciate your help and involvement and information.
Thank you. Chief, can you not leave? Chief left.
Well,